Okay, we're gonna take a quick break from our RV shopping, and no, we haven't gotten anything yet. And we're gonna talk today about a big bill that we just got in the mail. So as we continue the search for our next RV, I thought it'd be a good time to review our Thousand Trails membership, because what kind of RV we get affects how we're gonna be using it, and more importantly, where we're gonna be staying. So if we do get a smaller RV like we've been looking at, we're probably gonna be staying in less traditional campgrounds and RV parks. And since we just got our annual renewal notice for our membership, I thought now would be a good time to talk about it.
That once a year bill hits.
I know, and I almost choked on my coffee this year. It just keeps going up.
Yeah.
So we've made a video in the past, it was probably 3 years ago, on Thousand Trails. Welcome, and we're gonna get right into this video. We're gonna talk about our camping fees at Thousand Trails for the past 4 years, as well as our favorite parks, worst parks, our dislikes, and our likes. And we talked about how it's a pretty good value, especially for full-time RVers. You know, our per night cost got down to around $6 per night.
So let's get into the numbers. I have my favorite little spreadsheet, crunching some numbers right in front of me. Starting in October of 2019, that's when we bought our used membership. So that used membership cost us $3,000. And then additionally, we do have annual dues. That's $549 per year. And we did add on the Trails collection. So that's $214. Our grand total for that year was $3,763. Now that first year, we spent 161 nights in the park, making our average rate per night $23.37 was our average per night. And that cost is a little bit higher because we had that initial sunken cost of the membership, which remember that $3,000 is a one-time fee for the rest of our ownership. So then moving next into 2020, that was our second year using the full membership. So our total for the year was $861.18, 139 nights total. And if you divide the fees for that year for the nights, the average is $6.20 per night.
But as these annual costs continue to skyrocket, we need to figure out if this makes sense for us moving forward now that we're not as full-time. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the complete total cost that we've spent on Thousand Trails in the past 8 years, how much it costs annually to keep up this membership, and how much it's actually increased. So all of that together is gonna hopefully help us paint a picture if it makes sense for us, and hopefully all you following along will also have some information to chime in on.
I'm kind of excited to hear these numbers because I was not with you when you tallied them, so it's gonna be a surprise for me.
I know. And if you're not familiar with Thousand Trails, it's basically a campground membership that's been around for decades, and it's very complicated on the structure and system. So people get a little confused on how it actually works. And there's also a large variation of the RV parks, campgrounds, and places you can actually go.
Yeah.
And the cost varies a lot.
Yeah, and for all these reasons, people tend to either love it or hate it.
So one thing that is really good is the cost of entry to try this out is pretty inexpensive. So way back in 2018, before we even got into RV life, I was researching, you know, where are we gonna stay? How are we gonna save money? And Thousand Trails was kind of getting bigger on the YouTube world, and people were kind of explaining the memberships. And so we got our very first zone pass, they call it, for $350. And that $350 got you one zone of the country. I think it was the Midwest, like Texas kind of parks.
And that was an annual fee, right?
That was one-time annual fee, and you could stay in the parks for up to 2 weeks, and then you had to be out of the parks for 7 days. So it's not something you could kind of travel back to back, with the caveat you could if you moved every 4 days.
Yes.
Which we actually tried that. So we were in our van moving every 4 days, which was pretty fast.
It was very fast travel, but for us living in a Sprinter van, it actually worked well.
It did. So once you try it out for that cost, there's add-ons. like any great program.
Yeah.
So there's something called the Trails Collection, which
Yep.
was additional parks that were nationwide that we could also stay in. And that was like around $200 for the year. So now we're up to $550. We went all the way into Florida and we started staying in a lot of these Encore or Trails Collection parks.
Which Florida is a great state because they do have a lot of parks there.
But we wanted to keep going up the East Coast. And once you start moving zones, you need to add on zones to your zone pass.
Yeah.
So each one of these zones are $50, at least at the time they were.
Yeah.
And so we were adding on zones as we were traveling around the country. And I think we ended up adding on all the extra zones, which was around $200.
Yeah, and I actually really like that option where you add a zone if you need it. If you don't need it, you don't have to add it. So it's a cost that you can incur only as needed.
Yeah, so our very first year in Thousand Trails, we spent $750, which, you know, coming from spending rent of, you know, $1,600, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
That felt pretty good.
Yeah, that felt pretty good when you compare that annual Thousand Trails versus what we're monthly paying for rent. Like,
Yeah.
it was a no-brainer for us.
So, in fact, we liked it so much that we decided to invest some more money and do what they call like an annual membership. So we ended up buying a used annual membership that cost about $3,000. And the biggest benefit of an annual membership for us was that you could go back-to-back parks for up to 3 weeks. So it was a way to slow down travel a little bit and stay in the park system. You know, we could go 3 weeks here to another park 3 weeks there, and you could kind of slow it down a little bit. Now, in addition to this one-time fee of this membership, you still have to pay your annual fees, your annual dues, if you will. And our first year, it was only $763.
Okay.
So, you know, comparing $750 to $763 with the annual membership, we could basically use it 365 days a year if we wanted to. It was a really good value.
Yeah, we really liked to use it in between boondocking. So we'd go out and boondock and then we'd go to the park, we'd dump, we'd flip our tanks. Not for free because we had the sunken costs of the membership, but you didn't have to pay for the dump stations, the water fills. You would just use it strategically so that those things were baked in. We were already paid for and it felt free at the time.
And most of the parks are full hookups. So we were kind of using Thousand Trails as our home base for, you know,
between.
slowing down, catching up on work in between all of the travel and adventures that you guys have seen on
Taking long
YouTube.
showers, doing some deep cleaning, like using that running water.
Yeah. So for the next 3 years, we continued to use this Thousand Trails membership on and off, and we had to pay our, you know, annual fees. So after getting our annual membership, the first year was $763 in annual fees. The next year was $861. The year after that was $887. And then it goes all the way up to $909, which is starting to, you know, creep up to $1,000 in annual fees.
Yeah.
Still a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
For what we're using this for.
Yeah, if you are full-timing it, living in that thing and working the system, it is a screaming deal.
Still.
Okay,
by 2023, we have now went from the van to a travel trailer, and we were kind of even missing our home life a little bit more. We wanted to slow down travel a little bit more, and that brought us to the fifth wheel. We ended up getting our 33-foot Alliance fifth wheel. Maybe we're going to be sitting in the parks a little bit more. So that got us to look at the different memberships they have.
Yeah.
And a few years before that, the Adventure member came out.
That was such a wave when it came out.
Yeah, it was a big deal because what that gave you was a early access to book some of these hard to get parks like the Florida Keys. So we ended up getting this membership. We bought a used one, basically was about $6,000, and that was kind of with trading in our other membership.
Yeah.
So $6,000 one-time cost. It's
Yeah.
still a lot of money, but these memberships brand new were $15,000 to $17,000, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Pretty expensive. So we felt like that was a pretty decent deal.
Still a decent deal, yes. Especially, when you do have the stays that are outside of the Thousand Trails network.
Yeah.
And you pay that price per week at any standard campground rate, you realize very quickly that $6,000 is well worth it if you're going to be staying in a park more than 5-6 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
Which we were.
And the reason we did it was kind of specifically for the Florida Keys. Those parks can get very hard to get into. And the first year we were able to stay in the Florida Keys for, I want to say, 90-ish days.
Yeah.
So you're talking 3 months in the Keys.
Yeah.
So even right there, that's like $6,000 if you were going to just do that once.
Yeah. Year one of owning that adventure member level, we agreed it was well worth that investment initial.
And we really haven't talked a ton about Thousand Trails. We've mentioned it here and there. We did 1 or 2 videos. But, for us, it was more just our downtime, our home base, if you will.
Yeah.
And so we weren't really recording a lot about the parks or the system or any of that. So, okay, so now we're getting closer to present time. And our very first year of annual fees after buying that membership was $14.87. And that's in that same year. You buy the membership, you still got to pay those annual fees for the upcoming year. So about $1,500. So, we were at $900 before. Now we're close to $1,500. And again, the reason why this membership costs more is because it had some special perks that allowed us to get into these encore parks earlier and stay longer. So there was some benefit to it. I mean, I've seen some people share that they spend up to 20 grand a year in just regular camping fees.
Easy.
If they're going from, fancy place to fancy place. So 2024 and 2025, the fees went up $1,600 per year, $1,675 per year. That's where it starts to add up quickly as these things get bigger. And then that leads us to this year where we just got our current bill at $1,720.
Okay.
And that really caused me to just pause for a minute. It's like, man, I guess I didn't realize that it was that high per year. We were hoping that the annual fee increases would be smaller, a couple percent per year. I think during COVID, things just kind of went nuts with the RV industry, and anything related to RVs just went up. So that's where you started to see these big jumps, $100 per year for people.
Yeah.
And, it just starts to add up after a while. So something interesting that we could do is that $1,700 annual fee, half of that is for the Thousand Trails membership, half of that is for the Encore Parks membership. So remember, there's those add-on parks. So we could drop that and go back down to $750. We just won't have as many parks to choose from. So that's an option.
Yeah, which it's not so attractive because we really like the Encore parks. They are nicer.
It's the benefit.
One of the perks of that adventure membership is being able to go back to back at Encores.
Yes. Okay. So here we are, caught up to 2026.
Okay.
How much have we spent in the past almost 8 years? You have any guesses?
Oh my gosh, I should have an educated guess since you just went over all those numbers.
Were you calculating them as I was ringing them off?
Eight. Oh, and our contracts?
Everything.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, $30,000?
Oof. That would be
too
crazy. Almost $20,000 is what we've spent. So that number, again, it's something you got to kind of pause for a second and be like, $20,000, that sounds like a lot of money in this campground membership thing. But you got to remember. Yeah, we've been using this for, I calculated it to about 90 months, 7.5 years is what we've been doing it. So if you break down the total cost by 90 months, we've been paying about $218 per month for the past 7.5 years. If you want to call that rent or whatever
for
you want to call it.
essentially unlimited stays, which when I hear that $20,000, I don't even blink at it because many full-timers pay
that
double
in
that in 1 year.
They could.
Easily.
Yeah, if you're going to really nice $100 to $150 a night places.
Yeah, like hearing that $20,000 does not make me cringe at all.
Even if you get discounts and stay monthly at RV parks, you could easily spend $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So that would be $12,000 to $24,000 per year of full-time living if you're staying in RV parks.
Yeah.
Now, something else interesting to kind of equate these little numbers to. So 90 months at paying, let's just say $1,500 a month in rent for the past 7.5 years, that's $135,000 that we could have been paying instead of the $20,000.
Yeah.
Or if you flip that to like a mortgage and you say we had a mortgage for $2,500 per month, that's well over $200,000 total that we would be spending. So, when you think about it in those terms,
yeah. The ability to save money while in the Thousand Trails system is much, much higher.
So we've stayed at a lot of great places over the years. We have a handful of favorites that we like to go to. So we always talk about the Keys as a good one. There's a park that's close between Savannah and Charleston. That's a fun one to go visit, those two cities, because they're so amazing.
You're sharing all of our secret spots right now?
I don't know. Hopefully not. Bar Harbor is a great one
Bar Harbor.
we love to go to. That's such a fun spot to just sit and enjoy Maine.
Yeah.
In Bar Harbor and the national park. And on the West Coast, Lake Tahoe is a fun spot to go to.
One of our favorites.
Palm Springs has always been an area that we love to go to.
Yeah. Bend is a little outside of Bend, but it's a great area.
Yeah, it's still close to Bend. Close enough.
And Mount Hood is a new favorite too.
After painting that picture, moving forward, does it make sense for us to continue to do this? Because we're not going to be full-time in the park system, or even using it as much as we were before. We're still going to use, I guess we don't 100% know exactly what it's going to look like. So, at $1,700 this year, next year, am I going to be surprised if I see $1,800 pop up? No, because that's just kind of the track record that we're seeing. So what are your thoughts now that you've heard these numbers?
I think moving forward, it's still an easy decision to keep it, and we will be using it. There's on our longer trips that we will be doing, we know we're going to be doing longer trips. That could be like, I don't know, several months.
Yeah.
We're still going to need those down weeks to office and like grind out our productivity and routine.
Yeah.
I think we're still going to use it heavily. And I think it's going to be a no-brainer to say, yes, we're keeping it.
I'm not 100% on board with that. I think it matters more on what kind of RV we're going to get. If we get a small RV that we're doing fast-paced travel and we're not like sitting out there as much,
yeah,
it's going to be less value to us. If we get a bigger RV, certainly in the wintertime, it could make a lot of sense for us to keep it. At this point, it's just a little too early to tell. So it makes sense for us to do it for another year and actually try it out and see
if we're getting our value out of it.
Yeah.
We're going to test the value.
It can fluctuate even from year to year, like
for sure,
how much people use it.
Yeah, even with us, we have some years that ebb and flow.
So I'd love to hear all your guys' thoughts on the Thousand Trails membership. If you guys have it, if you've used it, if you've tried it, if you've thought about it.
Is it a yay or a nay?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's the tale of two tales, the tale of two cities.
Yep,
the tale of two RV parks.
People are generally opinionated one way or the other.
Yes. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this video. Next, we're gonna get back to RV shopping. We need to get our next rig moving forward here quickly, and then we can go out and actually use this membership. Because right now we're going to be tent camping in the Bronco.
Which you can't use at Thousand Trails.
You actually can. They have tent sites.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
But
she didn't know that.
But the rooftop tents, the tents need to be on the pad.
Well, maybe we'll go find out.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just try it. You in?
No. RV. Ever wonder where the name Irene Iron Travels comes from? It's actually named after my online fitness and nutrition coaching business, Irene Iron Fitness. I help people move better, feel better, and eat better with strength training and real food. No fad diets, no harsh restrictions, no counting calories. If you want to get stronger and feel better at any age, Check the description below for the links with my new client special, or join in on our next and upcoming group challenge.